Cuban sisters and brothers, compañeras, compañeros. What a delight it is for me to be here to bring not only the greetings from my own union, Unite, but indeed from the whole of the British trade union movement. Many of my colleagues from other unions are in the audience and for many years have been supporters of the Cuban Revolution. And what do you know? 55 years, who would have thought it? Well, certainly not the Americans, certainly not the forces of reaction around the Western world, who, when the corrupt government of Batista was overthrown, believed themselves that it wouldn't be too long before they took back their playground for themselves. And we all know that the Americans, the most powerful force that the history of our world has ever seen, decided that they weren't going to allow a small Caribbean island to dictate what was right and wrong in terms of political ideology. And they've launched all kinds of attacks on this beautiful island and these beautiful people. And here we are, 55 years later, celebrating that Cuban Revolution and that spirit that is indomitable and has actually pervaded through those difficult times still is in existence. The Soviet Union, of course, was there to assist and to reject the illegal international blockade against Cuba. And it was interesting to note that at the fall of communism, the Berlin Wall, once again, those harbingers of greed, those merchants of death, thought that this finally was the end of this beautiful island. Well, wrong, because although these were incredibly difficult years, sabotage, attacks, difficult times, special times as they were called by the Cuban government, that spirit of the Cuban people kind of rose above it all. And of course that's why we love them, because they inspire us. They inspire people throughout the world. It's because the solidarity that courses through our very veins is precisely the type of things that have held Cuba together, and why we are so grateful and why we continue to fight for justice. And that's all people are fighting for. The Miami Five, of course, have been subjected to the most disgraceful travesty of justice that perhaps has ever existed throughout the world, certainly in America. And some of you who know a lot about this will understand the various groups that have come out to say this is a travesty of justice. Groups in America who've never made statements before on any legal case have come out to support the call for justice for our comrades still in jail. And of course, you'll all be aware that there will be a commission on the 7th and 8th of March here in London, which will provide an opportunity for a proper open debate in order to listen to the witness statements of those. Rennie Gonzalez will be there, fantastic, one of the five released, of course, and he'll be coming to London in order to explain the situation. And I want all of you to give as much support as you possibly can, to give support to Cuba Solidarity, who do a magnificent job, and we want to make certain that all our branches and all our unions are supportive of this. But I could also announce, perhaps I hope I'm not stealing any of Esther's thunder, but Ricardo Arco will also be coming to the 7th and 8th of March. And Ricardo, of course, used to be the leader of the Parliament, the Cuban Parliament, an extremely wise man indeed. A man I've had the pleasure of meeting on a number of occasions. And I want to share with you a particular story. I was with Ricardo, it was a very small meeting. There's 4 or 5 people. And a very close friend of mine from America, a leading trade unionist who come to lend his weight and is still working tirelessly for the Miami Five and to reject this question of the illegal blockade. He was interested at the time of the changes taking place in Cuba, the move to look at things in a different way. And he reflected towards what was happening in China. And he said to Ricardo, are you going to do what the Chinese do? What the Chinese are doing to embrace the concept of controlled capitalism? And Ricardo smiled at him and said, no. You know, China is a Far Eastern country with 1.3 billion people. We are a small Caribbean island with 11 million people, with a Caribbean culture and attitudes. All we want to do is have our country run the way we want it, not the way everybody else does it. And you know, in that one moment, it struck me how incredibly simple this issue is. To allow people self-determination, to allow people to just do what all of us often take for granted, determine our own lifestyle, determine our direction. One of the worrying things for me over many years now has been the fact that this illegal blockade, we all know about it, it's been going now for 50-odd years, and there's a difficulty here that we become anesthetized to it. We just say it and accept it almost. The truth is, this is a disgraceful position taken by the Americans and is illegal. The very people, the ruling elite who constantly preach to us about the rule of law, it is of course a rule of law that they decide. Laws that they don't agree with, they either change or they ignore. And we need to continually put pressure and raise the fact that if this was a smaller nation, if this was Cuba deciding to do something that was against international law, they would be bombarded with the most vicious type of propaganda. It's illegal, and we have to continue to fight for justice in that country. For those of you who have been there, you'll know it is a beautiful country. Beautiful people, full of love and warmth, full of all kinds of issues that we all have. And the reality is that they just want to be able to live in the way that they want them to. My union and the British trade union movement will continue to give that support. I urge all of you to give that support. Support the Commission of Inquiry that's taking place in March, making certain that we highlight the disgraceful situation of 4 of our comrades who are still languishing in jail. I'm confident that with the type of solidarity that exists throughout the world, working people, when they come together, can achieve anything. And we'll certainly be there as well. Viva Cuba! Viva Cuba!
The road to this anniversary has been long and difficult. Having reached this momentous celebration has been only possible thanks to the immense and resilient capacity of many generations of Cubans in the struggle for independence and sovereignty. Today, we pay deserved tribute to those who offered their life along this struggle, some of whom were not able to enjoy the happiness that the Cuban Revolution brought to us all on that first day of January in 1959. The historic leader of the revolution, Fidel, warned us from that very moment about the scenes to come, and I quote, "The revolution begins only now. The revolution will not be an easy task. The revolution will be a difficult undertaking and wrought with dangers. The triumphant revolution was forced to face the promotion and organization of state terrorism via sabotage, armed banditry, the exclusion of Cuba from the OAS, breakdown of diplomatic relations with Latin American countries with the honorable exception of Mexico, Bay of Pig invasion, the economic embargo, assassinations, attempts against our leaders, the killing of teachers, peasants, and students. During 55 years and 11 U.S. administrations, administration have not ceased in their effort to change the economic and social system born with the revolution, erase the example to the world, and reinstate his imperial domination in Cuba. What are the crimes that Cuba has committed to deserve such hatred? Well, eliminate literacy, to guarantee free education and universal access to health services that has allowed Cuba its lowest infant mortality rate in history, life expectancy similar to that of developing countries, a parliament with 48% women representation, access to sports and culture, and to racial discrimination. Still, we feel there is more to be done. There are still insufficiencies and things to be corrected. But the revolution, the promised revolution made at the Moncada have been already fulfilled. And as we will continue to update our economic model, and we will continue to build a socialism that is sustainable and prosperous. And I would love to invite you all to support with all our heart this event of the International Commission that is coming on in March, that has been organized and coordinated by the Cuban Solidarity Campaign in London in connection with other movements in Europe. And last, I would like to thank you all for your solidarity, present and future. And I hope that all of you here today, no matter what is your age, will be able to join for many, many, many more celebrations.